This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
When it comes to what your family eats and drinks, you know your choices matter. You're the expert because you know what fits your life. And getting it right starts with good information. That's why America's beverage companies are sharing more information about our ingredients at goodtoknowfacts.org. No spin, no judgments, just the facts straight from the experts for more than 140 beverage ingredients. Visit goodtoknowfacts.org.
A quick heads up, this episode discusses online porn and masturbation. Okay, you've been warned. Here's the show. Back in January, writer Daniel Kolitz found himself in a hotel room in Jersey City, New Jersey, with a man who went by the name Wristband Guy.
Well, I'll tell you, I met Wristband Guy through a fellow by the name of White Boy Jacker.
White Boy Jacker told Daniel about an event called Real Porn Meets.
A monthly, I believe, event series where clandestinely, the hotel is not informed, a large number of men meet up to overdose on pornography, effectively. Watch it on multiple screens and take in as much of it as they can in each other's company.
And they're masturbating?
And some of them are masturbating, yes. I'm probably most of them. I was not allowed to stay for the event itself.
Got it.
Which was not something I really wanted to witness anyway.
How did Wristband Guy end up hosting these events?
Wristband Guy was on the leading edge of a movement of men who were gathering on Discords to masturbate together. As he put it to me, this is great, but we should be in a room together. And so he tried to actualize what was happening on Discord in everyday space.
The meetup grew out of an online subculture called gooning, a subculture based around porn and masturbation, one that Daniel describes in Harper's Magazine as every bit as defined and vibrant as the hippies or punks in their prime. Gooners are mostly men, mostly Gen Z, and awash in endless internet porn, but in a way that's communal, brought together in pockets of the internet. By the time Daniel met up with the Gooners in Jersey City, he'd been reporting on these guys for months.
To see that out there in the world, you spend a lot of time on your laptop, you're meeting people, those people are there, but it doesn't really seem fundamentally like real to you until you can see in the flesh, here is someone that is actually doing this, who can talk to me about how it works and, the mechanics of it. It's kind of verified. I mean, I knew it was real. I was talking to people, but until you're actually, in physical space, it doesn't quite have doesn't register the same way.
Today on the show, a trip inside the Goonerverse. I'm Lizzie O'Leary, and you're listening to What Next TBD, a show about technology, power, and how the future will be determined. Stick around. Every business owner knows that missing a business call is like watching money fly out the window and straight into your competitor's hands. That's why Quo, formerly OpenPhone, is the smarter way to run your business communications. Quo is a business phone system that works right from an app on your phone or computer. Your team can share one number to collaborate on calls and texts like a shared inbox, keeping response times fast. Quo's built-in AI can log calls, write summaries, and set up next steps. Even after hours, Quo's got your back. Quo's AI agent can answer the phone, qualify leads, and route calls to the right person, so no customer is ever left hanging. Quo helps businesses stay connected and look professional. That's why over 90,000 businesses are already running on Quo. Quo is offering TBD listeners 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/TBD. That's QUO.com/TBD. You can even keep your existing number for free. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. This episode is brought to you by Saks Fifth Avenue. Saks makes it easy to find the perfect gifts and holiday looks that suit your personal style. The holidays can be a lot of things: exciting, relaxing, heartwarming, and yes, sometimes even a little stressful. That's why you need Saks.com. Saks makes holiday shopping easy, stress-free, and most importantly, fun, whether it's for yourself, your family and friends, or even the pickiest person on your list. You can feel confident going into this holiday season, knowing that Saks is there to help you find inspiration, curate a holiday wish list, pick out gifts for your loved ones, and have a look ready for whatever might come your way. Whether it's an office holiday party, a cozy night in, or a vacation getaway, Saks has everything you need. If you're looking for shopping to be personalized and easy this holiday season, then head to Saks Fifth Avenue for inspiring ways to shop for everyone on your list. Your story is one of those rare news stories that I feel like everybody I know is talking about, either because I'm tapped into freaked out parents or like our babysitter who is young enough to be aware of this culture online is aware. But there are a lot of people who are not. So if you are not someone who spends a lot of time online, what's a gooner?
It's a very good question. A gooner would be someone who goons. Gooning is a kind of masturbation, a kind of prolonged masturbation, going anywhere from a few hours to 12 hours to days, aimed at attaining what is called the goon state, which is a kind of flow state that some liken to advanced meditation. To be a gooner, I mean, that's really all you need to do, although at the same time, there has emerged this massive gooner community on Discord where something in the range of hundreds of thousands, if not over a million, people congregate to play sort of masturbation games, to masturbate on camera together, to porn DJ'd in the stream room, to trade their favorite gifs and images, to talk shop, talk porn stars they like, things of that nature. There was proto-gooning going on before, but I would say the last few years is when it took off in a meaningful way online.
Can you, because I think you laid this out really nicely in your piece, I wonder if you could give me a visual of like a gooner's setup.
Sure. So, wristband guy comes back into the picture here because I'd never really understood. Let's say you're in one of these Discord stream rooms. You're seeing, occupying most of the screen, hyperkinetic pornographic montages. Below that, you're seeing a bunch of men, their heads cut off at the neck, masturbating, usually in dark rooms. What had been confusing to me was how could they be watching the porn if the camera was below their neck? So what I hadn't realized, what wristband guy pointed out to me, is in fact you get two cameras, and I don't know if this is standard, but you get two cameras, one pointed down and one, you know, pointed. Well, I guess really just one pointed down, and then you don't activate the camera on your laptop. But I mean, it depends. Not every gooner has a goon cave. A goon cave being a kind of room designed for porn consumption, which could have 4 or 5 screens, each of which blasting itself 4 or 5 pornographic clips. It could have pornographic posters taped to the walls, overhead projectors, blasting porn on the ceiling. Obviously, sex toys and lube all over the place. A kind of porn shrine.
And how old are they?
They range. I think that, sort of the most active people in the culture right now are pretty young. They're probably early to mid 20s, but you go into those spaces, again, it's mostly 20s and 30s, but there's a huge, huge range. I mean, I don't know if I've ever really seen any 70 something gooners, but you certainly 50s, you'll see a bunch of those.
When do you think gooning, as we understand it in your story and as a subculture, started to emerge?
Well, there have been strains of the culture that have been in place since the internet's inception, as far as sort of communal porn sharing communities and communal masturbation communities. But everything really started to come together, I would say, around the time of the pandemic, and certainly with Discord becoming, one of the major social platforms, which, as opposed to a place like Twitter, where everything is in the open and you're all basically in one big feed, Discord is made up of private communities, which I think made it a bit easier for some of these tendencies to come together.
One of the things that I was fascinated by in your reporting was how you kind of got into the Discord and began to meet people and went about learning about them. I wonder if you could walk me through how you did that.
Yeah, sure. So, I've been aware of the concept and I learned that they're hanging out on Discord and popped in there and was blasted with this sort of overwhelming, crazy imagery and was like, all right, I'm going to need to find some way. I mean, because there are, again, thousands upon thousands of people.
Yeah.
It's hard to even begin to get a foothold. And so I thought I would make a gooning questionnaire, which I then uh, conscientiously distributed to as wide a range of gooners as I could find.
Did you say,
Some
like,
were
hey,
sending
I'm
it
a
to their friends.
journalist. I want to learn
Yeah,
more?
absolutely. And,
Wow.
these gooners were happy to talk to me, genuinely, because it's not really a hobby you can talk about. It's a hobby and it's very difficult to discuss with family members, with friends. They don't want to hear about it or you don't want to tell them. So someone coming to you and saying, "Hey, how long are you gooning for? What are you gooning to? Who are your favorite porn music video makers? What do you think about Noodle Dude?" Things of that nature. They were grateful for the opportunity, I think.
What did you learn about them? Like, were there traits that bound them together? Things that you learned from your survey where you could find through lines?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what I learned first and foremost is that most of them are not masturbating. What I thought was that they were masturbating for 8 to 12 hours a day. In fact, it's really just like 2 or 3, and maybe 3 or 4, and then a few times a month, they'll really go all out and put in the time required to reach the goon state. But what was notable was learning that what really binds these people are the rituals of the community. So that would be things like feeding and wank battling. I can go into each one. Feeding
Please.
feeding is basically one gooner trying to get another off by sending them curated pornography. You want to get a sense of sort of what they're into, and a lot of these gooners have curated porn stashes sort of on their hard drives they can pull from. These are often carefully organized and indexed. I've seen a bunch of them. Now, there are also, I should say, professional feeders. I spoke to someone who worked out of a motel room in Georgia who gets paid hourly
Huh.
uh, to feed gooners. But then, of course, there's wank battling, which is a kind of gamified feeding where you're trading porn with each other and giving it a score. So these are some of the games that they play. Most notably, one of the things I learned, and I was already getting the sense when I first joined the community, is that the kind of pornography they're watching is not the kind of pornography, I don't know, the average porn watcher might have been used to. It is far faster. They watch these things called porn music videos, which sort of incorporate, splice up clips from hundreds of different porn films and, display them at an extremely fast pace. Often the thrusts and moans and so on are synced to the beat. Um, there's a whole vibrant community of porn music video makers who are, sort of paying attention to each other's styles, learning tricks, techniques.
It sounds like someone who's really good at making TikToks, but for porn.
Yeah, basically. I mean, there's a real through line to the fan cam sort of genre. It's sort of cultural remixing, taking stuff that already exists and trying to make something sort of new out of it.
There's this aspect of this story, and I think this happens with a lot of internet subcultures, where it's like, oh, hey, look at the freaks doing this thing online. And then at the same time, you have people like me, middle-aged parents being like, oh my God, is this what's going to happen to my child? And then there is the truth of the lived experience of the people you talk to. And I wonder, how do we land on the right balance of understanding what people are doing online and why they're doing it, and not making it a spectacle or a moral panic or bigger than it actually is.
Yeah, I didn't want to sensationalize. And frankly, by the end of this reporting process, I was so inured to what I was seeing that I wasn't even sure any of this was notable anymore. I was like, is anyone going to
Huh,
find this?
really?
Well, to some degree, because I was just blasted with it. I mean, day in, day out, that it became hard to remember what a normal person would find normal, a
Yeah.
complex word in this context. But, what someone not used to this world would find strange. I think that it's important to describe reality and describe what's happening, and I don't think you need to be alarmist about it. I mean, this isn't the end of the world. It's sort of a strange way to pass the time. Maybe it is a harbinger of, worse things to come. And, a lot of the people engaged in this community are not happy and are using gooning as a kind of as an escape or an outlet. But I think just looking straight on at whatever is happening is important if you want to understand the world.
When we come back, what gooning tells us about the future of life online.
Some days, winding down can feel impossible, and after a long week, the idea of a hangover is not so attractive. So, if you're looking for a healthier way to enjoy happy hour, check out Cornbread Hemp's THC gummies. Cornbread Hemp produces America's first and only USDA organic THC gummy. They're perfect for unwinding, kicking back, and enjoying a chill night with friends without alcohol or the hangover. All Cornbread Hemp products are third-party lab tested for safety and purity, and they're made with real THC and organic ingredients. You can choose from 2 delicious flavors, Blueberry Breeze and Blood Orange Bliss, and they ship directly to your door. Cornbread Hemp THC gummies are designed to help you unwind and relax. So, if you're in need of more chill than thrill, head over to cornbreadhemp.com to order today. Right now, TBD listeners can save 30% on their first order. Just head to cornbreadhemp.com/TBD and use code TBD at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/TBD, code TBD. Cornbread Hemp. This is the good life.
This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game, shifting a little money here, a little there, just hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can be a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill, too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help you find options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
What the hell is going on right now? And why is it happening like this? At Wired, we're obsessed with getting to the bottom of those questions on a daily basis. And maybe you are too. I'm Katie Drummond, the global editorial director of Wired, and I'm hosting our new podcast series, The Big Interview. Each week, I'll sit down with some of the most interesting, provocative, and influential people who are shaping our right now. Big interview conversations are fun.
I want a shark that
eats the internet,
that turns it all off.
Unfiltered, and unafraid.
So in a lot of ways, I try to be an antidote to the unimaginable faucet of reactionary content that you see online, to the best of my ability.
Every week, we're going to offer you the ultimate luxury of our times, meaning and context. True or false? You, Brian Johnson, the man sitting across from me, one day, at some point, as of yet undefined in the future, you will die.
False.
Tell me more. Listen to The Big Interview right now in the same place you find Wired's Uncanny Valley podcast. Subscribe or follow wherever you get your podcasts.
I was really captivated by some of the individual conversations you had with people. You spoke to someone who went by, tell me if I'm pronouncing this right, Spishak?
Yes. I mean, it's not his real name, but yeah,
Right, yes.
I think that's how his, yeah.
How would you describe his journey into gooning? Like, how did he start and where is he now?
Well, I guess he was a college kid, sort of an awkward college kid, who had trouble talking to women and, I think had a kind of social life, but he was in college during COVID and, was home with a laptop and, had no real romantic options. I mean, if it was bad before, it was worse during the lockdowns. And through some chain of association that I don't quite recall, he found himself in one of these gooning Discord servers and learned about the concept of goon caves and became quite a significant figure, from what I can understand, in the goon cave posting community. I mean, he has 8 tablets, 2 huge monitors. When I found him, there were 27 different porn clips playing simultaneously in the rig that he had set up, which I should note he has to disassemble every time he makes because he lives with his parents still in Los Angeles.
One of the threads that runs through his story, and I think some others, is the pandemic and kind of what the isolation caused by that created. Do you think it's a big factor in people getting into or deeper into this community?
Yeah, I think it played a role. I mean, the lockdowns proper obviously were not even that long.
Right.
I think we were already seeing a kind of migration towards a mediated life. And I think, the period of lockdown really exacerbated that and got a lot of people who would not have been necessarily extremely online beforehand to not only go online, but to find themselves in very unusual parts of the internet. And that applies not just to gooners, but to all kinds of eccentric types.
Do you think that the Gooners are there to get off? Or is the porn and sex component, like, is that just the medium? Like, I wonder if you could say this is akin to fantasy football or gaming with friends or even a pickup basketball game. Like, where is the line between community and masturbation?
Yeah. Well, a few things are worth noting here. One is that, yes, it's kind of like a fandom, basically. And there are plenty of niche online communities. If you're into woodworking or something, you can go on the subreddits and talk about it. These are porn fans. Um, but, you know, they're definitely they're definitely there to get off to some degree. The pornography does play a role. And the community is so vast that you'll have people who are just coming in to find, some cool gifts. And then you'll find people who are lingering. I mean, I spoke to someone who wasn't in the article who said that they had been housebound with anxiety for many years and that, you know, masturbating in these Discord servers allowed them to be kind of relaxed and to socialize in a way that they weren't really able to in their day-to-day lives.
There has been so much ink spilled, digital ink spilled on the male loneliness epidemic. How and where do you see Gooner culture fitting into that or not fitting into that?
I think in a sense it fits in pretty neatly because a lot of the people I spoke to were lonely and Gooning provided a kind of community. I wouldn't think most people are going in there to slake loneliness per se. Maybe it is just that, these are the kinds of relationships people are having now, not just in the gooning community, but, you know, Discord is a huge platform and people have
Yeah.
all kinds of hobbies and you can engage in friendships that are, you know, somewhat two-dimensional or somewhat shallow, but still fill a need or fulfill a need.
I'm really struck by something you said that by the end of reporting the story, you were like kind of a nerd to the amount or kind or pace of porn that you were seeing. Like, does that happen to Gooners too? Like, I wonder if you start doing this, if you just get to some point where it's like, no, the cuts must be faster.
Yeah, I mean, I guess writing this article, I learned from the discourse that there are people who push back on the narrative that porn consumption inevitably leads one to seek out, more and more extreme content, and I don't think
Yeah.
that's necessarily true. I mean, I agree that there are plenty of people who probably watch porn every day and stay at a similar level of extremity, and also even if it ramps up, whatever. But these gooners themselves will often say, "Yes, it led me to seek out more extreme content," or you become sort of inured to what you're seeing. I mean, again, in my own case, it was just like, becoming so familiar with this stuff, I started to forget that if I were to show any given, like, if I were to show my laptop screen to someone at any given time, they'd be like, "What are you looking at? What is this?" And, to be clear, it's not just that, like, it was extreme sex acts or something, or, like, really hardcore pornography. It was the literal, like, editing methods. It was the way the pornography is being presented, such that in a 2-minute clip, you'd have 500 cuts. So to the point where you really struggle to imagine how you would find this erotic unless you ate a laptop or something. I mean, it really doesn't, like, compute to someone with a different kind of brain.
Well, because in many ways, that's just like so totally antithetical to real sex.
Yes, and I thought about that. I mean, conventional pornography has obviously conventional mainstream pornography, which is often, targeted towards straight men. That's always been the main audience. From the 70s to the present, obviously has changed a lot. The kinds of acts performed, the camera angles and techniques. But fundamentally, it has remained two or often more people in a room engaged in sex in something like real time, which is to say a sex act is performed from beginning to completion. There is a, climax. The kind of pornography that the Gooners are watching does not resemble, you know, human sex at all. It is human. It is online pornography for someone whose sole sort of conception of sex itself comes through online porn, even if they themselves are sexually active. It's pornography people who have been shaped by sort of the ready accessibility, not just the accessibility, but the scale of websites like Pornhub, where, as their own metrics show, people will click around, 12 clips in a session. Very few people, I would imagine, are opening Pornhub and watching one long clip start to finish.
Have you talked to any of the people who were your sources since your story came out?
I haven't gone and done it yet, and I'm sort of putting it off, but I would like to. I did see one commenting positively. I could recognize their username. I know that a few of the people involved were not really gooners per se, but are more like figureheads in the community. Noodle Dude, for instance, took some issue with the article, or seemed to suggest that I maybe didn't fully grasp what was going on. I had a kind of old-fashioned brain.
Hmm.
And maybe Noodle Dude is right to some degree. I mean, I really just tried to describe it, the way that I saw it and the way that I'm capable of understanding it, given when I was born, what my proclivities have been, in my adult life. And, I tried to give them a fair shake.
I think one of the things that ends up being hard with a story like this is that you are taking something, and when I say like this, I mean any niche community. You are taking something that is really special to the participants in it, in whatever way, right? Like it's central to their identity, their conception of self, and then even a description shatters that specialness. It takes away the kind of protected bubble that it exists in. And that is, in many ways just the act of journalism. But I think where sex comes into play, or porn comes into play, obviously they're not necessarily the same thing. There's like, I don't know, even more focus on it. It all feels much more high stakes. And that's why I was wondering if you had a sense of their reactions.
Yeah. I mean, I would assume, and I do know, that people after reading the article are just looking like they're, sort of doing tourist trips to the Goonerverse Discord to see what actually goes on in here. And I do wonder, it was such a hidden community. I mean, this is why I was shocked that it hadn't been written about before when I first stumbled upon it, because it's such a vast, sprawling world with so many of its own customs and, art forms and traditions. And, you know, they were so used to operating under the radar. And I wonder genuinely, because this article seemed to have circulated far more wider than I would have even thought it would, uh, if that is going to, I don't know, add a degree of self-conscious to the community. Maybe that's egotistical on my part to think that something I wrote could change what they're doing.
Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you think is important for people to know when they read this piece or hear this conversation?
I guess one thing would be that, I wasn't setting out to write an alarmist piece about pornography per se. Or, you know what, maybe I was to some degree. I think partly what I set out to do was write about how, access to hardcore pornography from a very young age affects people's conception of sex and affects the sex lives of young men. But really, as I got deeper into the community, it became much more a story about content in general and, the ways that all around me, people were blasting their brains with highly stimulating short form video content all the time. Because, I'm not adding any kind of morally, I'm not anti porn at all. And I'm not judging the Gooners for, the content of their consumption. I mean, I do think that some of the stuff they're watching is pretty bleak, given that it's all about ruining your life and, you're a piece of shit, you're horrible, whatever. But, you know, yeah, I became in the end just much more concerned about sort of the emergent slop culture.
I mean, it's not unlike watching a children's movie from 25 years ago and then watching a cartoon today, and the pace is like the second one's on meth.
Yes, exactly. And I would imagine the pace is only going to pick up in the future. So I don't know what the version of this article 25 years from now. I mean, that article probably won't exist. It will probably be in the form of pornography, if I had to guess.
Daniel, thank you so much for talking with me and for your piece.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you.
Daniel Kolitz is a journalist and writer. All right, that is it for our show today. What Next TBD is produced by Evan Campbell and Patrick Fort. Paige Osborne is the senior supervising producer for What Next and What Next TBD. Mia Lobel is the executive producer here at Slate, and TBD is part of the larger What Next family. And if you're looking for more great Slate shows to listen to, check out our latest episode of The Discourse, which came out today. Available exclusively to our Slate Plus members. I chat with Matt Honan, the editor-in-chief of the MIT Tech Review, about his experiences with OpenAI's new browser, Atlas. All right, we'll be back on Sunday with another episode. I'm Lizzie O'Leary. Thanks for listening.